Hey, what's up, Foreclosure Fix family? DJ Olojo here, and welcome to the Foreclosure Fix podcast, where our goal is to help 1 million homeowners successfully navigate foreclosure. Now, if that mission resonates with you, please do us a favor, like, subscribe, or share the podcast with someone who you know can benefit from our content. Or better yet, get them a copy of our new book called The Foreclosure Fix, 12 Proven Steps to Beat the Bank, Escape Foreclosure, and Turn Your Property into a Profitable Asset. That's book sold anywhere books are sold or on Amazon.com. Y'all, I am looking forward to today's podcast, and I can tell y'all I'm in a good mood. All right. I almost started the intro like, what's up, Foreclosure Fix family? Yes, I almost did, but I had to make sure my editor would be able to make sure the stuff sounded good. So if you can put some reverb in there for me, I would really appreciate it. But that being said, I'm in a great mood because I have some good content I want to share with y'all. The last few weeks have been super hectic, but in that time of being hectic, I've had all these ideas and all these different questions that people have asked me, different experiences that I've had with homeowners, and I want to share those with y'all. And I want to dive into 4 key deal killers. Yes, I'm talking about 4 deal killers. If you are facing foreclosure, or if you are just in any type of real estate transaction, there are 4 things that can kill your deal. And I want to make sure that you avoid them and that you are aware of them. So that way, when you see them coming, you know how to navigate, how to move accordingly, and how to make sure that your deal still gets through the finish line. All right. And so that is what we're talking about today. What are the 4 deal killers in a real estate transaction? So the first deal killer is greed. Yes, you heard me. The first deal killer is greed. The second deal killer is dishonesty. The third deal killer is ego. And the fourth deal killer is time. And I'm going to dive into each of these in great detail. So greed. Why is greed a deal killer? It is a deal killer because pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Yes, if you want too much out the deal, and that doesn't mean you as the homeowner, that can mean you as the realtor, you as the investor, you as the closing attorney or escrow officer. If you want too much out the deal, whether that be money, you want someone else to do too much work, and you want all the cake for yourself and no one else can get a piece of the pie, then you are being greedy. And when you are greedy in real estate transaction, it seldomly works out to your benefit. The best deals in real estate are when everybody wins. The buyer wins because they got a house that they love at a price that they thought was fair. The seller wins because they sold their house to somebody who they thought was honest and has integrity, and the price was fair. The real estate agents involved win because they help people transition and they were able to get a commission in the process. The closing attorney wins because they provided a great service to people who were transacting real estate, and everybody leaves the table feeling good. However, when people are greedy, someone has a chip on their shoulder, or multiple people may have a chip on their shoulder. I have seen situations where sellers are at the day of closing and they are trying to renegotiate or amend or change the amount of commission they are giving to the agents involved in the real estate transaction. Yes, that sounds crazy because they knew what the commission amount was going to be before they got to the closing table. They knew what it was going to be when they signed on with that agent to help them in the process. And now that they are minutes or hours away from getting the money in their account, they are wanting to change the agreement they had with somebody. They are being greedy. And this is not situations like short sales where they're not making any money. These are situations where the owner of the property is making a significant amount of money and they are still trying to take away some of the money from other parties involved. I've also seen this on the opposite side where you have a buyer who is trying to get an agent's bonus, right? So sometimes some sellers, maybe if it's a difficult property to sell, or maybe if the market is soft, they may say, in addition to the commission, the agent will get a bonus of maybe $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever the number may be for helping them get a buyer, because maybe the seller really wants to sell fast. And I've been in situations where the listing agent offered a bonus and the buyer's agent said, great, I got a client. The client loved the house. And then at closing, when the buyer found out the agent was getting a bonus that was disclosed, they then said, hey, that's not fair. That bonus should be coming to me. And it was a whole ordeal and a whole issue. And so when people get greedy in anything, whether it's real estate, business, bad things happen. And so I want to remind you that if you are selling, or if you are buying, or you're just transacting real estate in any way, shape, or form, greed is a deal killer, and it is never, ever good to be greedy. There is enough in every situation for everybody to come out victorious. And yes, sometimes some parties get more and some parties get less, but when you are greedy, it kills deals. It's the number one deal killer that I see for individuals and people who are selling and transacting in real estate in any way, shape, or form. The next thing is dishonesty. And dishonesty is one of those things where you may not know someone is dishonest until you are further down in the process. And this can be in the form of sellers who are not forthcoming. Like when a seller calls you out to their house and they say, hey, yes, my property is in perfect condition. I had an example like this recently where I was talking to a homeowner. They were facing foreclosure and they had a large house that they wanted to sell. I'm talking about the house was large. It was 8 bedrooms and I think 5 bathrooms. It was a large house. And the owner wanted a pretty high price for the property, but if it was really 8 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms, then that price they wanted could potentially make sense to work for all parties involved in the transaction. And so I said, hey, no problem. I'll come out to see the property. Great. I said, what's the condition of the property? Does it need any updates? What's going on with the property? Just so I can kind of estimate and be prepared when I come to the property. And the owner said the property is in great condition. It doesn't need any updates. It doesn't need any repairs. The property is in move-in condition and any homeowner would be happy to have it. And so I said, great. That sounds wonderful. I look forward to checking out the property. And y'all, when I pulled up at that property, I just knew I had been baited and switched. All right. I'm talking about the roof was old. The gutters were falling off. There were holes in the grass and near the foundation. And then when I stepped through the front door, it was even worse. Half the house had flooded out and things like that. And that owner was just dishonest. He not only wasted his time, he wasted my time. And so when you are dishonest in the process, at any stage in the process, it just creates more stress and more agony for other people involved, right? And this also applies to buyers. When buyers are dishonest and maybe say, yes, I am an all cash buyer. I can close on your property in 1 week. And they know they have no cash and they have no intention to closing your property in 1 week. That is dishonesty, and dishonesty kills deals. And so it's so important as people who are either investing in real estate, buying real estate to live in as homeowners, or selling real estate that we are honest in the process. And this is also true for real estate agents. If you are a real estate agent, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your clients. And if you are dishonest, you are doing them a disservice and you're doing yourself a disservice and you're ruining your brand in the marketplace. And so having honesty is so important. And it's one of the things that helps deals move forward faster, even if problems arise. The next thing is ego. I have seen this happen so many times in real estate transactions where the ego of the parties involved get in the way of a beneficial deal being done. I see this a lot in probate situations where you have family members arguing and fighting and treating each other very, very poorly because they have an ego or bravado and they think that they should be getting more of the share of the potential profit on a deal than the rest of the siblings. And I know that every family has its quirks. And sometimes you have people in families who have unfortunately been the sole beneficiary of all the resources while someone was alive. And now that that person is deceased, they think that should continue. Or they already got their inheritance while that person was living. And now that they're deceased, they want to stake claim to something that doesn't belong to them. I've seen it. I've heard the stories, and I understand and I empathize with those families, because not only are they mourning, they're also dealing with infighting. But when I see egos get involved, it is something that just really derails deals that otherwise could be simple. They get very, very convoluted, and they ultimately end up not closing. Egos are also important when you look at realtors. I've seen it from the perspective of where you have two realtors involved who are not negotiating based on the best interest of their client. And what I mean by that is that when a realtor or real estate broker receives an offer on a property, by law, they need to present that offer to their client. And when they do not present offers to their client or explain the offers to their client, or just brush them away as, no, that's a lowball offer, you don't have to worry about it, or they don't even tell their clients, they're doing them a huge disservice, because they may not know what that client wants to do in that situation. And they don't give the client the opportunity to make the best or have an informed decision. And so the ego of the agent can sometimes be a hindrance in getting a deal done that could otherwise get done easily. The last thing that I want you to consider, and the fourth, is time. When you are dealing with real estate, time is of the essence. And the more time that passes between a deal getting started and it completing, the less likelihood it has to get done. The other thing is that if you are facing foreclosure and you don't give yourself enough time to find a buyer and start the process and get your loan payoffs and get whatever liens released on your property, you may find yourself in a situation where you lose your home, not because you didn't want to sell it, not because you had ego or you were dishonest or you had too much bravado or you were greedy. It was because you just let too much time pass. And so it's so important for you as a homeowner to realize that you need to allow enough time, especially when you are in foreclosure, for everybody to get their documents together, for your buyer to get their funding together, for your attorneys to do proper title research and due diligence, and for you to get out of the property. All right. And so keep that in mind. If you are dealing with any of these situations in a real estate transaction, greed, dishonesty, ego, or lack of time, you can find yourself in a transaction that won't make it to completion. And y'all, those are our 4 deal killers. I want to make you aware of them so that way you can do everything possible to avoid them and avoid people who bring this type of stress into your life. Y'all, that brings me to my favorite part of the podcast, which is our bow tie round. It's where you, our listeners, get to tie one on with your host, DJ Olojo. All right, the B in bow tie round stands for your best advice for somebody facing foreclosure. The O stands for one thing you're grateful for. The W stands for your wildest or most interesting foreclosure related story. Today, my best advice for you is avoid the 4 deal killers. Don't be greedy. Don't be dishonest. Don't have an ego, and don't let too much time pass before you sign the contract and before you close the contract. And also allow enough time for you to get everything together if you're facing foreclosure. The one thing I'm grateful for is I am grateful for good people out there in the world. I am always reminded that there are so many good people out there. People who are trying to help other people, people who are doing just amazing and phenomenal things that you'll never hear about on any of the news channels or on social media, because they're just not out there promoting or boasting about what they're doing. And so I am grateful for those silent warriors in every facet of life and every facet of business who are doing phenomenal things day in and day out and not even looking for credit. So kudos to them. Y'all, my wildest or most interesting foreclosure related story comes from a situation that, in all honesty, I am very disappointed about. And I told y'all I started this podcast that I'm in a good mood, and I'm in a good mood because you can't take my joy away no matter what is going on. But this situation is just very, very frustrating because when I talk about deal killers and I talk about the things that kills deals, it's not just the deal on the front end where someone's buying your house. It's also just how you are as a person. And unfortunately out there are just some dishonest and nefarious people and people who are always trying to get over. My foreclosure related story today comes from a property here that we recently acquired in Georgia. And yes, that property is a property we acquired, and we acquired it from someone who was facing foreclosure. And that person was just a couple weeks away from foreclosure, and we were able to strike a deal with them to buy the property. And guess what? When we bought the property, we said, hey, look, we know that this is a stressful time. We're going to give you about 35 or 40 days to stay in the property at no cost. So that way you get some money to move. You can go, find a new spot, and you can do everything you need to do. And that person was so elated. They didn't have too many other options. And when they closed on the property, they got a check for over $30,000 in their hand, going from a property that they were going to lose at the foreclosure sale and get no money to getting $30,000. This person was elated. They were so happy and so grateful. And we were happy for them. We were happy that we could come in at a time of need and be a resource for them. Fast forward to day 29, right? And this person is supposed to be out on day 30. And we call and call and call, and we hear nothing from the person. And keep in mind, this person, as soon as they got their closing check, they said, I need to take a vacation because I haven't taken a vacation in so long. And so they signed up for a tropical vacation and went on vacation. And we didn't care. We said, hey, this is your money. You do what you want with it. Phenomenal. And they said, hey, I'll be back. Don't worry. I'm all good to go. And so they get back from their vacation. It's a day before they're supposed to move out. And guess what? We call them. We don't get a response. So we say, okay, no problem. No big deal. No worries. The day they're supposed to move out, we call them. No response. Then we're saying, okay, this is kind of weird. This is kind of messed up. And then finally, the day after they were supposed to move out, we get in contact with them. And that person says, oh, I'm so sorry. I had this big tragedy on vacation, and the person I was with fell down the stairs, and we end up having to stay there for much longer, and I wasn't able to move. Can you please have any grace on us and give us just a couple more weeks? We just need a little bit more time and we'll move. And keep in mind, y'all, we started to feel that something was fishy because this person who they were with, they didn't say who they were. They didn't say all the details about it. They never showed us pictures. They just kind of gave us these excuses. And we said, okay, no problem. 2 more weeks, not a big deal whatsoever. We understand moving after you've been in the house for a while is difficult. No problem. The other thing that we noticed too is that nothing was changing at the property, right? They had all this junk outside. They had other cars that they were supposed to move and get hauled off. But none of that was changing. Everything looked exactly the same. And even inside the house, I hadn't seen a box packed. And so we started to get really suspicious, but we gave them the 2 weeks anyway. Lo and behold, 2 weeks comes up. We say, hey, can we get those keys? Crickets. They stop answering the phone, stop answering text messages, and all this other stuff. And we're just like, man, what's going on with this person? Why are they doing that? Long story short, we are now on day 50. And when I say day 50, I'm not talking about 50 days from when we bought the property. I'm talking about 50 days from when this person was supposed to be out of the property. And this person is still there. They are not answering our calls. They are not communicating with us. They have basically gone radio silent. And the kicker is that they also have a brand new Mercedes-Benz in the driveway. Y'all, when I say I can't make this stuff up, I can't make it up. And so the reason why these 4 deal killers are so important is because the deal killers are indicative of how people act, not just when they are in real estate transactions, but how they act in life. And I have a strong feeling that this person acting like this and doing this is not just how they act in real estate transactions, but it's how they act in life. And people like that, they can get over for a little while, but in the end, they never, ever win. And so I want to encourage you that if you are in a situation where you are facing foreclosure, where you are in a position where you have a tough decision to make, where you are facing things that are challenging, I want to encourage you to always be honest, to be transparent, and to always put your best foot forward. Because when you don't, the outcome does not work in your favor. Because now this person, not only will they eventually get out through the court system, but they're going to have that on their record. They may have to pay some legal fees, and that $30,000 they walked away with may end up being significantly less by the time they have to pay all the things they may have to end up paying when this is all said and done. And so just keep that in mind. The way you treat other people is that you treat them the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule, and that's what we want to encourage you with. So I appreciate you all tuning in to another episode of the Foreclosure Fix podcast to learn about the 4 deal killers in real estate transactions and when you're facing foreclosure. Now, if the mission to help 1 million homeowners resonates with you, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share our content with someone who you know can benefit. It would do us a great favor. And if you want to join our newsletter, check us out at theforeclosurefix.com. As always, I appreciate you for listening. I love you, and God bless you. The views and opinions on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we highly recommend you contact a qualified legal professional.